Folks, I'm back from the courthouse, okay? I actually just recorded another video about the illegal videos that were found on David's phone, but YouTube are having some problems with that video, a little bit too spicy. So I couldn't put that up for you now, but I am going to do a full breakdown of some details about David's current situation in prison or in jail, what his conditions are like behind bars at the moment, the very hardline judge that he is actually up against, who actually saw in the flesh today. That is going to be the chef that will be cooking this fool. And apparently this judge, she's tough, right? She's known for spanking fools. And I've also just got some information about, some of the people that David is actually locked up with. He might actually be hanging around with some other famous Hollywood murderers that you might have heard about very, very recently. So it's going to be a lot of crazy stuff going on with David behind bars. I literally seen him in the flesh. He was sat couple chairs in front of me. He was right there. I saw him come in, saw his face, saw his hair, saw he was growing his hair out. He was looking he was looking a bit disheveled. And, he didn't look completely downtrodden, but also he wasn't looking super confident. And he just said, yes, ma'am, one time. That was it. But anyway, okay, I'm going to give you some information about David's judge. Okay, so it turns out that the judge that's going to be overseeing his case is Judge Charlene Olmedo. Now, interestingly enough, this is the same judge that recently drew national attention for overseeing the high-profile trial of 70s show actor Danny Masterson. And funnily enough, we talked about this previously on the channel for completely different reasons when we were kind of digging deep into the connections with Epstein and Weinstein and some of the Nick Reiner stuff, some of just the dark stuff that goes on in Hollywood. But she oversaw this case, and this fool got cooked too. He got extremely cooked. It said, no one is alone. Read what the judge and victim say at Danny Masterson's sentencing. One victim has said her statement is for any victim, anywhere, who finds kinship in my story, no matter how slight. So let's see how David's judge recently cooked another Hollywood weirdo. It said, before a judge last week sentenced actor Danny Masterson to 30 years to life in prison for the R word ×2 in 2003, his victims would speak about how the crimes ravaged their lives. Okay, shout out to Megan Cuniff for this excellent breakdown. Nisha Trout, then Jen B, read a statement aloud at the lectern in front of Los Angeles County Superior Court Judge Charlene F. Olmedo, right? The chef, all right, in charge of the David cookout now. She basically read she oversaw the statements being read against him. Before Trout spoke, Deputy District Attorney Ariel Anson read aloud a written statement from Chrissy Carnell-Bixler, Masterson's former girlfriend, and jurors in May deadlocked 8-4 in favor of guilty on Masterson's forcible R charge related to Carnell-Bixler, but Judge Olmedo allowed her to give a victim impact statement under the Victims' Rights Law, Marsy's Law. Olmedo did not allow a statement from a woman who was not a charged victim, but testified that Masterson had done the R-word to her too in Toronto in 2001 while he was filming Dracula 2000. The woman attended sentencing and sat with the other victims. Let me get a drink, I'm parched. Doing a lot of talking today. Masterson, who was Stephen Hyde on That 70s Show and Jameson Rooster Bennett on The Ranch, declined to speak. Judge Olmedo then said, before I impose sentence, I do want to say a few words. Masterson's lawyers had asked her to sentence him to 15 years to life for both R words instead of 30 years, but Olmedo, a former assistant U.S. attorney, said she didn't believe she had discretion to do so, and even if she did, I would not choose to do so here. This is who David's up against, all right? This ain't gonna work out, because his crimes are worse than this. And it seems like, I don't know the evidence in this case, but it seems like there's a lot of evidence. I don't even know if they had them sort of terabytes back then when this crimes took place. But anyway, so not only has Masterson been convicted of 2 forcible R words with a true finding of multiple victims, the R word themselves involve separate incidents of force used on different women on different dates under different circumstances, said Olmedo, a Loyola School graduate and 2002 Governor Gray Davis appointee. Here's the judge's verbatim remarks and the verbatim impact statements via the court reporter certified transcripts. Okay, so obviously my thoughts with the victims, but really I'm interested in what the judge cooked up at the lectern there. So, Mr. Masterson, I know you're sitting here steadfast in your claims of innocence and thus no doubt feeling victimized by a justice system you feel has failed you. I'm sure you're asking yourself how you can be convicted of each charge of a SUL incident occurring 20 years ago based on the testimony of a woman that you believe is a disgruntled and has a vendetta against you. But you were not convicted on the testimony of one person, although the testimony of one person is sufficient evidence to sustain a conviction, and you were not convicted based on rumors, innuendo, gossip, or speculation. You were convicted based on the testimony and evidence that 12 people from the community found to be credible. You were convicted because the victims testified about what occurred back in 2001 and 2003. You were convicted because each of the victims reported the R word to someone shortly after they occurred, also back in 01 and 03. Jane Doe 2 told her mother and friends, thus reporting it, and Jane Doe 1 reported it to Scientology officials and also wrote letters to Scientology's International Justice Chief reporting it. They also reported it to the LAPD almost approximately a year later, and Jane Doe 3 reported to Scientology ethics officers and higher officials within the Scientology organization shortly after. In addition, shortly after, you paid Jane Doe 1 approximately $400 grand to keep quiet about the charged incident, and while some may argue that whether you believed her story was true or not, you just didn't want the bad publicity, she was seeking money from you close to $500,000, an awful lot to pay for the silence about an incident you claim never happened. That's a bad look. The evidence as relayed by the victims was similar to each other, and during the time the victims told other people about the incident shortly after they happened, the victims were still Scientologists. They had not left the organization yet. So the argument that they only colluded with each other decades later after leaving Scientology to get money from you doesn't make sense in light of their earlier reporting, nor does it diminish the truth or impact of the earlier statements made at or near the time of the R words when they had no motive to lie, retaliate, or gain money. In addition to what I've just mentioned, there were further testimony and evidence presented at trial, and after hearing all the evidence, the jury from the community found you guilty of counts 1 and 2 by proof beyond a reasonable doubt. And here's where the cooking, the oven's cooked up. Here's where the cooking, we're going to do a little salt bay on top of this one. So, Mr. Masterson, you are not the victim here. Your actions 20 years ago took away another person's voice and choice. Wow, she rhyming too, she's spitting. Your actions 20 years ago were criminal, and that's why you're here. Ultimately, one way or another, you will have to come to terms with both your prior actions and subsequent consequences. To quote Martin Luther King, she is cooking. Quote, the ultimate weakness of violence is that it's a descending spiral begetting the very thing it seeks to destroy. Wow. As to count 1, a violation of penal code, I sentence Mr. Masterson to be imprisoned in state prison for a term of 15 years to life. Count 2, imprisoned for 15 years to life. I order them to run consecutive. The total sentence is 30 years to life with actual conduct. I'm sorry, with actual custody credit of 100 days and conduct credit of the 15 days for a total credit of 115 days. Barely even touching the sides on that as far as the days that he had. So this is a judge that's known for catching hats. This is a judge that's known for handing out big 30s, okay? And I'm not talking about Pooh Shiesty and them. She got the real big 30, okay? And this is another case that she oversaw, okay? Let me get my headphones primed up for this. She presided over the preliminary hearing for suspects accused in this murder of General Hospital actor Johnny Wactor. And basically, the judge refused to dismiss the charges in this. And, you know, she holding people's feet to the fire. So look at this. It's another incident she's overseeing.
An LA County judge is refusing to dismiss charges against the man accused of killing actor Johnny Wactor. Yesterday, the judge said there is sufficient evidence to allow the case to proceed. Yesterday, the judge said there is sufficient evidence to allow the case to proceed. Robert Barcelo and Sergio Estrada are accused of shooting the General Hospital actor. It happened when Wactor confronted several people trying to steal the catalytic converter from his car last May. Both men have pleaded not guilty. They're due back in court on June 25th.
So she's refusing to dismiss those charges. They wanted them thrown out, but basically it was reviewed by another Superior Court judge reviewing transcripts from the hearing before the other judge, and the men were ordered to stand trial. He found sufficient evidence to allow the case. So basically, they pled not guilty to 1 count of murder and an attempted second-degree robbery in the deadly shooting. Wactor basically confronted these guys that were trying to steal the catalytic converter from his car when he was shot and killed. They're facing special circumstances. And basically, here we go. This is what we want. It says, during the hearing before Judge Charlene F. Olmedo in January, LAPD Detective Justin Howarth testified. Barcelo said during a conversation with an undercover jailhouse operative shortly after being arrested that he had shot Wactor once. You guys, you criminals, you touch down at the county, you start telling everything to your cellmate. A lot of those are jailhouse operatives, undercovers. They got undercover feds in the jails. You cooked. David, you're already talking hot on the phone. But yeah, don't be talking. He's segregated anyway. But basically, this kind of just describes the undercover operative basically finding out. He said Wactor was going after his homie. And in another jailhouse sting, the other guy, Estrada, told an undercover operative that he yelled no when he saw Barclough pull out the gun. So they turn in on each other now, right? It was a hot-headed robbery. And basically they told the undercover that Wactor had rushed him and he wasn't concerned about a female witness being able to identify him because they was wearing masks. Hit him with the Tay Savage, okay? Whoever did it right because they was wearing a mask, okay? That's what he said. That's a famous saying from an earlier video. Anyway, all right, if you didn't know about that. So I really just want to know about what the judge had to say about it. But anyway, the judge is kind of holding people to the fire, basically. That's what I'm trying to tell you, okay? So she would also oversee the resentencing of a very depraved individual, the former UCLA gynecologist James Heaps. All right, she would oversee the cooking and sentencing.
Former UCLA gynecologist and Professor James Heaps. The 69-year-old pled guilty to 13 felony sex crimes and was immediately sentenced to 11 years in prison.
History will not remember you with reverence. It will remember you with contempt. Your name will carry no honor, no dignity, no redemption. Only the permanent, irreversible stain of what you chose to do.
Heaps had already been serving the same sentence after a jury convicted him back in 2022. But an appeals court threw out the conviction due to a legal technicality. Instead of facing a retrial and the possibility of a longer sentence, Heaps took a deal and pled guilty to 13 counts that include sexual battery by fraud, sexual exploitation of a patient, and sexual penetration of an unconscious person.
James Heaps violated the Hippocratic Oath that he swore to uphold when he became a doctor. That's the Hippocratic Oath of do no harm.
Heaps spent nearly 35 years at UCLA and was one of the highest paid doctors in the entire UC system. But there were many complaints against him dating back to 1999. So far, more than 500 lawsuits have been filed against Heaps and UCLA, accusing the university of ignoring those complaints and deliberately concealing the abuse. Ellen Carter successfully sued and won.
So what's really interesting is it sounds like he had his case, then he got this long sentence, all right? Was it 11 years or was it 13 years? Maybe it was 13. But basically, he managed to like finesse his way to an appeal, and then he took a plea, probably thinking, yeah, I'm going to get less time because I'm going it over. This time I'm taking a plea. And the judge said, no, I'm hitting you with the exact same sentence. Fool. What a joke. So she is known for shutting people down. Their little hopes and dreams that they're going to finesse these charges ain't going to happen under the watchful eye of Judge Olmedo, okay? And so everyone on Reddit is realizing that this is a serious judge. David's case assigned to Judge Olmedo. Judge Olmedo presided over 70 show Danny Masterson's R-word trials in 22 and 23. He was found guilty and got 30 years. She rejected his request for a lesser sentence. Hearing this gave me a huge sigh of relief to know the sentencing for whoever is found guilty, allegedly David, they won't be sliding their way out of this crime without repercussions. People saying, hallelujah. Maybe Blair Burke will file a motion to withdraw because this case sounds like career suicide, okay? This is really interesting. I haven't seen this video. It says, just saw Bruce Rivers, shout out to him. Video on YouTube. He's a lawyer that does a great channel doing legal breakdowns. He's an acquaintance of Blair Burke, and he said he predicts she'll step down before it even goes to trial, either because the family runs out of money or because she won't like what she sees in Discovery, or because it will be obvious that he did it, and she's already said some bold things, like this case will show he didn't do it. Also said that he would have never said those bold things she said at the arraignment. They were unnecessary legally, since she's only going by what he is saying for now, aka I'm innocent and didn't do it, but clients lie to their own lawyers all the time. But in a case with 40 terabytes, they'll probably have a video that explicitly confirms he did it, like a ring camera of him holding the body bags in the car, for example. Okay. So it says he has the right to a fair trial and representation, and he's paying. So I don't know, looks like she's gearing up to fight. I personally want to have him sit there and listen to all the evidence in front of him and have to answer so he can live with that forever in a cell, not plead guilty and avoid it. Okay. So she's gonna be laying down some belt in the courtroom by the looks of things. Okay. I mean, it's her job to just oversee what happens as far as the defense and the prosecution's case made in front of the jury, but she will be the one wielding the sword and deciding the sentence, and I think it's going to be spicy. So there's new rumors about what David's got going on behind bars with the state of his prison stay, but maybe it'd be better to talk about that in a separate video, because I was just thinking, okay, there was quite a lot of stuff that is separate to the judge situation. And you know what? It might just be easier to take a little break. My voice is getting a bit tired. I've been talking. I was outside the courthouse just yelling at all kinds of people today. So I might need to just take a little break, refresh, maybe have a cup of tea, and then do another video. But that's the story on the judge. I'm going to follow up. I'm going to do another video about his conditions in jail. I think I'm going to do a separate video for that one and just take a little break. So yeah. Hope you found that useful. I do have another video that I'm trying to get up, but YouTube, they ain't rocking with it. They said they need 24 hours to review it. So I'm hoping that I can get that up for you guys. But obviously, thank you for everybody that watched my video at the courthouse. That was a very, very interesting experience. I will be going back soon. Not sure what date. Can't make the next ones, unfortunately, but I will be back there very soon. And that was absolutely crazy. And I appreciate everybody that watched that and shared that and thought that was helpful, informative content about what was going on. So I'm going to keep that going. I'm going to be back with a video about the jail conditions very soon. I'm going to do that separately, and I'll keep you guys informed. So thanks for watching this one. I'm out for now. Peace.